I'd now like to invite Henrietta Fore to the stage. Henrietta is the chairman and CEO of Holsman International, and she's the former administrator of the USAID, the former director of the U.S. Mint at the Treasury. She serves as on the board of directors of ExxonMobil and General Mills. For years, Henrietta has been a leading advocate of diversity in the business community, and so it's really quite apropos that she present the Leadership and Diversity Award to Marilyn Carlson Nelson. Henrietta, welcome.
It is also quite appropriate that I present this award because Marilyn is a great friend and a role model. So it is my pleasure to introduce our next awardee. It is Marilyn Carlson Nelson, the winner of the 2015 Leadership in Diversity Award. And go. And to Pete Peterson, Marilyn was a CED trustee for 15 years, so we're going to have to ask her back onto the board so that she'll have a chance to add up those years. Marilyn is the former chairman and CEO of the travel and hospitality company, Carlson, which includes such brands as Radisson Blu, Radisson Hotels, Park Inn and Park Plaza, as well as Country Inns and Suites, and Carlson Wagon-Lit. F. Scott Fitzgerald, like Marilyn, a native Minnesotan, once said, "The world only exists in your eyes. You can make it as big or as small as you want." And Marilyn has made her world big. She was recognized by Forbes as one of the world's 100 most powerful women, and named by U.S. News and World Report as one of America's best leaders. Marilyn has been a pioneer for women in business, forging trails and disrupting the traditionally male-dominated business world. But she has done so by expansion and inclusiveness, with compassion and support, rather than constriction and exclusion, making room for herself and others where it did not previously exist. Through her leadership, she has increased participation by women in senior management by 48%. She co-founded the World Economic Forum's Women Leadership Program, and she has chaired the National Women's Business Council, advising the President of the United States and Congress on economic issues important to women business owners. Not only has Marilyn championed women in business, but she has also advocated for many underrepresented groups who do not have a voice or a platform of their own in which to speak. In 2010, she helped to lead the fight against the anti-gay marriage amendment to the Minnesota Constitution. And in 2014, she was selected as the Oslo Business for Peace Award honoree, and for her work in helping to abolish human trafficking of children. She received the Presidential Award for extraordinary efforts to combat trafficking in persons from the White House, and last month she received, to standing ovation, the Women Corporate Directors Award for her exceptional leadership of a family business and a global initiative on human trafficking. Marilyn moves seamlessly from government policy discussions to business, and always with a purpose to make our world better. CED established the Leadership and Diversity Award to recognize companies and individuals who are setting the standard for excellence in leading programs that create and sustain diversity in the workplace, including supporting women and their advancement in private enterprises. The award complements CED's Women's Economic Contributions Initiative, which focuses on increasing women's participation on corporate boards. Marilyn has far exceeded the Leadership and Diversity Award criteria set forth by CED, and I know she will continue to do so for many years to come. On a personal note, when I heard of Maggie following in Denise's footsteps and Denise following in Maggie's footsteps, so did I with Marilyn. I had the great honor to follow her onto the board of ExxonMobil, and as a continuing testament to her, we often recall her wise governance precepts and community empowerment initiatives with and for women around the world. Her footsteps were the first in the sand, but her inclusive leadership style means that there are dozens and dozens of us following in her footsteps. And this is the real test of leadership in diversity. In closing, Marilyn is a wife, a mother, a businesswoman. She is a humanitarian, a best-selling author, and a teacher. She could have chosen any one of these paths in life and made her world small, but she chose them all and made it big. Steve and I are very proud to present to our friend Marilyn Carlson Nelson the Committee on Economic Development's 2015 Leadership and Diversity Award, and we cannot think of anyone who deserves it more.
I'll rescue it. Well, whatever. Do it that way.
Good evening, everyone. Well, Denise, you were introduced by your sister, your blood sister, and obviously I was introduced by a chosen sister. Thank you so much, Henrietta. Henrietta, in her discussion of F. Scott Fitzgerald, just said about the world, our choosing the world to be big. It seems like when I began my career, it was big, but it's been getting smaller and smaller. And our responsibility as global corporate citizens has been getting bigger and bigger. I have to admit I'm even a bit uncomfortable, though extremely grateful, to receive this award for something that I consider unfinished business. Still, it's exciting and wonderful to celebrate our progress, and I thank CED, especially for establishing this award. This award is not as long-standing as so many that you've seen tonight, but it's important because it encourages us to recognize that diversity must be integrated throughout all of our organization's strategies. It's been a very inspiring evening for me. I look at what each of you has done in each different aspect of business, and I see what an extraordinary platform we have to make change. It actually makes me wish I could start all over again. But the good news is that my colleagues who are here from Carlson Bagwell Lee, which is a global travel management company, and those from our hotel business are carrying on our commitment to inclusivity. As Henrietta shared with you, much of what I care deeply about and what I've advocated during my long career is reflected in the very essence of this award. I have long believed that business, well led, can be a powerful force for good. I, like many of you, have witnessed how inclusivity, particularly women's empowerment, provides organizations and societies the opportunity to reach our greatest potential, drawing from the entire talent pool. And I believe that standing up for human rights for all calls upon our highest selves. This is I actually believe it's a critical moment in time. If we in business are to reestablish trust and earn the reputation as a force for good, if we are in business are going to inspire the long and needed respect for capitalism, and now, in fact, we need a renewed respect for democracy, then we as corporate leaders must not only focus on restoring economic growth, but also on rebuilding our country around our stated values of social justice and fairness. This will go a long way to mend the recent tears in social cohesion. You know, the fact is, if we are going to benefit from diversity, and over the studies tell us it's the key to renewal and transformation and new ideas and innovation, then our first commitment has to be to inclusivity. I believe that business actually is a calling. I try to tell that to the young people I meet who seem to think they have to go into the not-for-profit business in order to make a difference. Business is a calling. And those of us who are called to business as our life's work have seen an extraordinary ability of our organizations to bring people of different nationalities, backgrounds, genders, and faiths together around common goals. And the profound economic benefits of that unity, as well as the lasting impressions and the deep global friendships we've been privileged to forge. Now, to be honest, when I came out of school, I had no idea that business could offer such a powerful platform for good. In fact, I was a little bit resentful at the time. You see, I graduated from Smith College in the 60s with a degree in international economics. I had been at a school where women were the engineers, women were the scientists, women were the politics, women were doing it all. And suddenly, there were very few employment opportunities. As a matter of fact, when I finally secured a job as a security analyst at a stock brokerage, Payne Weber at the time, some of you may remember it, I got the job contingent on my willingness to sign my name MC Nelson, because they said no one would buy stock recommended by a woman. I vowed then to do whatever I could to create inclusive environments. And then when I told them how excited I was to be expecting our first family member, they didn't know what to do. I had a following. They couldn't imagine in that delicate position that I could be seen on the floor. So I got a promotion, but my office was around the corner and upstairs so that I wouldn't be seen. I vowed that I would even the playing field. And of course, there were multiple opportunities to do that after that, but the first really big test came when I became CEO of Carlson. And I discovered, much to my dismay, that our family multinational business, with thousands and thousands of employees under our flags, had only 2 female executives. And I knew in my heart that we could never compete successfully on the global stage if we didn't draw the best talent from across the world. So I worked alongside my executive team to create a meritocracy. I was convinced that given an even playing field, that men and women would succeed or fail in approximately equal numbers. And that is what we experienced. As you heard, the ratio of women to men in senior management positions rose to nearly 50-50 during the time that I was there. And more importantly, this inclusive meritocracy has endured to this day, and I am so proud of that. But my commitment But Henrietta alluded to a second opportunity that really challenged my commitment to inclusivity. In 2004, working with Her Majesty the Queen of Sweden on the World Childhood Foundation, working with street children around the world, I began to understand that these children were vulnerable to being a new word for me, human trafficking. It was the 3rd largest underground activity, and I was shocked. No one spoke about it in those days. And suddenly, it became more and more clear that this was something that actually played out across borders and in hotels and motels, that our industry, totally unbeknownst to us, could be complicit. It was a taboo subject at the time, and I felt concerned about our global folks. They not only had a woman executive, but now she started talking out loud about using children for sex. I presented the opportunity to our team, and you can imagine, between the lawyers and the PR people, everybody looked at me aghast. You're what? You don't want our name even connected with this. And I said, go home, think about it. I understand before we knew, but now we know. Can we really, really turn our backs? And then maybe something fortuitous happened. My first grandchild came home. Anyone here who's a grandparent, or maybe even those of you who are parents and took your baby home for the first time, I had everything ready. I had the cradle. It was actually facing the east. I promised Diana that I would take good care of. She would let me wait for the baby to stir and go up and take him out of his crib. He finally awoke. I went up and it was just dawn, so I took him out of his cradle, and there was light coming up behind him, and he just seemed so fresh from God. I couldn't imagine loving anyone more. And then I had what might even called a kind of epiphany. I suddenly realized I couldn't protect him. It really didn't matter. It didn't matter how much I loved him, what means I had. I couldn't build walls tall enough or locks strong enough to protect him. That somehow I had to care for those children who had no one to take them out of their cradle. Because if I didn't, they would meet somewhere in some tragic way, in a tall building here in New York, in a churchyard or a synagogue, on a battlefield. So I went back, and we decided it was not only the right thing to do, it was our enlightened self-interest that we would be the first global travel and hospitality company to sign on to try to prevent the trafficking of children. So what we did, we trained our people. We trained our people around the world what to watch for. We gave them the numbers to call. We raised awareness through Carlson Vague-Only Travel by putting notifications on itineraries, particularly those going to some of the most egregious countries. The psychologist, Carl Menninger, this is maybe the other side of what you all are doing at LEGO and the wonderful, joyous, positive news that you're bringing about child development. Ours is about giving voice to those children who have no voice. Carl Menninger said, what we do to our children, they will do to the world. Let's remember that. So tonight, standing here before you, I feel a quiet sense of gratitude for the opportunity that I have for the platform that I had, but I'm envious of each of you. You have a platform. It doesn't matter if you are the CEO or if you're here in some other capacity to support your organization. Every one of you has a platform. You can and must use that platform to make a difference now. Our society has never needed you more. We need to stand up for capitalism. We need to be proud and be a force for good. And we need to support democracy around the world. He drew a circle and left me out. Heretic, rebel, a thing to flout, But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and drew him in.